Okay, it looks like we are in fact live. Okay, hello and welcome to the MMA Live Chat Show. I'm Rich Davie and it's Thursday, September 18th, 2014. On today's show, we'll be discussing the TUF 20 Episode 2 Calderwood versus Kagan show that took place on TUF last night, which was Wednesday, September 17th, 2014. And we'll probably do a final thoughts segment as well if time allows. On today's show, we have yours truly and Damon Gazelle. Thanks for taking part in another show, Damon. I appreciate you taking time to be here and joining me to discuss the TUF 20 Episode 2 Calderwood versus Kagan show and giving our recap as we saw things. Go ahead and say hello to anybody that might be listening, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Rich. Thanks for everybody that's going to be watching.
All right, thanks again for being here, bro. I appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. Joanne Calderwood is 27 years old from Scotland with a record of 8-0, was ranked number 2 in the strawweight division. She faced Emily Kagan, who is 32 years old from the USA, with a record of 3-1, and who was ranked number 15. And for those of you who aren't aware, Joanne Calderwood is one of the favorites to win this season of TUF and the strawweight title. Emily Kagan was a big underdog in this matchup and did better than most fans picking Calderwood thought that she might do. And here's a brief description as to how I saw things unfolding in that fight there. Round 1, Calderwood came out dictating the pace. She stalked Kagan, putting on the pressure, employing kicks. Kagan landed a few solid shots to Joanne's face about 3 minutes in, but for the most part, Kagan was trying to be elusive. Towards the last minute and a half of the round, they tied up. Joanne started throwing knees, and the final minute of the round was the most exciting action between the two fighters there, in my opinion, as far as round 1 goes there. I scored round 1 10-9 for Calderwood. And then going into round 2, Joanne was looking to land knees earlier on in round 2. She took the fight to the ground early on where she tried a little ground and pound. The fight went back to the feet, very briefly after that. And Calderwood was working for a standing Kimura there. Then the action went back down to the ground where Kagan got stuck in an inverted triangle choke for over 3 minutes or so. Both ladies were peppering each other on the ground with shots while they were in that position. And the round ended on the ground with Kagan stuck in that inverted triangle choke. I scored round 2 10-9 Calderwood, making that one 2018 Calderwood in my opinion. And as far as the matchup goes there, in my opinion, Calderwood was just a little too much for Kagan all around. I just thought she was better all the way. And, like I said earlier there, she was stalking and pressuring, trying to get Kagan to engage. And as I mentioned earlier there, Kagan was a little bit too reluctant to engage early on. But she actually did better than I thought she would. I thought she would probably, get finished there. I wasn't exactly sure how the fight would end there, but, Joanne was looking to, get those knees, late in round 1 and then earlier in round 2 there. And the fight ended up with Calderwood winning by majority decision with the judges' scorecards reading 19-19, 2018, and 2018. So, not quite sure how that one judge had it scored 19-19 there, but what's your opinion on this fight, Damon? How do you think Emily Kagan and Joanne Calderwood performed in this fight, and how did you score the fight?
I've seen Joanne Calderwood definitely having the 2 rounds. Not a lot of action. One of those fights that looked more of the type of fights that were pretty much just trying to get to the next fight. Didn't really look like either was putting it all out there, trying to secure the win. Other than Calderwood holding Kagan in that inverted triangle for 3 minutes or whatever it was. Definitely wasn't the best fight.
Yeah, I was actually expecting a little more action from that there. And I don't know if DFW made any comments about that because 3 minutes on the ground in round 2, where basically, for that 3 minutes, they were really just, tickling each other with punches. There wasn't anything really, vicious being thrown there. And, it seemed like Calderwood was just happy to, hold Kagan in that inverted triangle there, knowing that she probably won round 1. and that she probably won, the beginning of round 2. So yeah, not a whole lot of action, and fans were probably expecting more, which probably made it look like Kagan did much better than fans were expecting.
Yeah, I think they probably should have stood that up, just for the fact that it wasn't very exciting for those 3 minutes. I mean, she wasn't choking her. She was pretty much just holding her there. She wasn't advancing position. You know, it's one of those things. It's kind of like a stall tactic. I mean, do you let her keep doing it, or do you separate them, seeing that she's not actually going for the submission?
Who was the ref on that one? I don't recall.
Do what?
Who was the ref for that bout? I don't recall.
I have no clue. I didn't.
Yeah, because I agree with you. I think that action should have been stood up there because nothing was happening. They weren't really going at each other when they were on the ground there.
No, looked like they were sniffing each other's butts for a while there.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that there, but yeah, it kind of looked like they were in a comfortable north-south position for a couple of minutes. Yeah.
That's why I said sniffing butts. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. All right. So, what else did you think of that one there? I mean, did you really think that that warranted the respect that Calderwood gets there? Because I know that on Fox Sports UFC website there, where they put up articles about the UFC and MMA. There was an article there, and the name of the article was Joanne Calderwood stated that she was not impressed by her performance. She stated that she was very pleased with the fight, specifically Kagan's refusal to engage. And here's the quote from the article that I mentioned there. I was really disappointed in Emily, Calderwood told Tough Talk. I had already fought her teammate, and she did the exact same thing. It's like they're on their back foot running away, so I can't land anything. Trying, I'm coming in, and she could hit me, and she could probably knock me out, but I'm still charging forward. I want to fight, and she was on her back foot, and I just couldn't land anything. So, yeah, it sounds like she was really frustrated. And on that Fox Sports website there under the UFC section, there's an audio I guess, interview there with the people at Fox Sports that you can listen to the whole thing if you want to there. But yeah, she didn't sound very pleased with her performance in that one. And again, it sounded more like she was putting it off on the fact that, Kagan really didn't want to engage early on there. I mean, she came in, Kagan, with a few shots here and there, and looked like she actually hurt her a couple of times with a couple of those shots there. But there was far few in between for Kagan there. I mean, maybe she should have pressed the action a little more than she did, but who knows? Maybe she was just intimidated. I mean, I know early on in the show there, she said that this was the fight that she was looking for, and she was looking to actually, maybe get the win and really get some more respect than she feels that she's being attributed to now. So, what do you think about that?
I think if she wasn't impressed with her performance, that has more to do with her. The other fighter, it doesn't matter what the other fighter is doing. When you hold a person in that position like she did for 3 minutes of a round, you're not doing much either. At least try and finish the fight. If you want to blame it on the other fighter for your performance, I mean it's kind of I don't know. It defeats the purpose. I mean, I could have fought better, but she didn't challenge me. I mean, for real, if she didn't challenge you, didn't throw strikes at you, knock her the fuck out. Do something. Don't just stay on the ground holding it for 3 minutes of a round in an inverted triangle. I wasn't impressed by either fighter. I'm sure Calderwood will show some better skills in later fights, but that fight I was not impressed.
Yeah, did you hear any comments by DFW on that fight? Because typically that's not the kind of fight that he enjoys.
No,
Like
I
I
didn't
said
hear.
early in round one, you got to give it to Calderwood in round one because she came out and she was kind of, throwing all kinds of kicks from all different angles.
Yeah, she was trying, but when it comes down to it, it's yeah, you need to look to finish the fight, not prolong it, and she didn't do that, and I was definitely not impressed in that aspect.
Yeah, but in round two there is when she actually was trying to employ the knees, like I said in the beginning of the show there. In round two, she came out, pretty much straight away looking to, land knees. But, you got to give it to Kagan there because, when they tied up with each other and they were in the clinch there, um, Kagan was pretty much not allowing that to happen.
Mm. I mean, it's one of those fights that it you just wish you would have seen more. And you really didn't get to see a lot because over a third of the fight was pretty much on the ground in that one position. And anytime something like that happens, it just it takes away from the rest of the fight.
Yeah, the first fight on the episode one show was a much better fight, in my opinion, more
Oh
exciting.
yeah, it was definitely much more exciting. I I think the ref should have told her to either advance her position or do something try and finish her. Yeah, I don't know why she was allowed to just hold her there. To me that's if you're not threatening with a submission and if you're just stalling, then they need to do something about it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And maybe the reason they didn't, I agree with everything that you're saying there, and I agree. She wasn't trying to submit her. She was just holding her. And, like I said, it was just pity-patter punches on the ground from both of the ladies, actually. But, Kagan was in, a rougher situation there, so you can understand why she might have been having a little more trouble trying to score there on the ground and, throwing those, soft punches the way that they were throwing them. Because I don't know, what did you think about those punches they were throwing when they were on the ground? I didn't think they were all that effective.
No, no, they weren't. Didn't look. You know, usually if it's an effective punch, it's going to loosen somebody's grip and usually allow you to escape or at least secure a better position for an escape. So it obviously didn't look like she was doing much. It looked like she was doing some butt slams on her face, but that didn't seem to loosen it up or anything.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah, it was a little disappointing,
yeah, it was definitely disappointing.
I'm not going to say it was a shitty fight, but it's not what people were expecting. I don't believe.
It was a good first round, but the end of the second round is what I remember the most, and it was just not there for me. It ruined the rest of the fight.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, congrats to Joanne Calderwood for moving on in the competition there. She's going to be in that next bracket of fights when we get through, I guess, the next next four fights that they've got to go through before they get to the next bracket?
I'm not sure exactly how many fights. I thought there was isn't there 8 or is there only 6?
Yeah, there's 8 on each. Yeah.
So they've only done 2, so there should be 6 more fights?
Yeah.
All right. So,
yeah. Well, I was hoping to actually see a little more action there, like I said earlier there. But anyway, congrats to Joanne Calderwood. Any more comments on that?
Yeah, congrats to her moving on. Hopefully, her next fight she does more. Definitely want to see more from her. I know she's got the potential.
Okay. Any more about anything else before I move on to what I want to speak about next here?
No.
Okay. As I mentioned on the last TUF 20 show that we did, there were some articles published in the world of MMA that referenced the disappointment with the coaching style that some of the ladies were going to express on the show last night. And apparently the disappointment with the coaching style was that some of the ladies wanted to express to the coaches that it was the problem with the coaches on Team Pettis. Felice Herrig actually came out and, kind of like organized the girls to get together and explain to the coaches, how they were feeling. And, they were a bit frustrated. It wasn't just Felice, it was, a few of the other ladies there. But what it came down to basically, really briefly here is they were saying there was too much information overload, too many coaches giving advice too frequently. The drills were being interrupted too often, which led to the drills not actually being completed. And basically what, it all came down to was the old adage where too many cooks spoil the brew, apparently. So, they weren't really happy with all of the advice that they were getting. They just thought it was too much, interrupting everything, and, that it wasn't really, helping, the training sessions. What did you think? What do you think about that?
I agree. When you're coaching, or being coached, there's only so much input that you can give out and take in a short amount of time. You have to there's a certain amount of time for that to become memory. That's why you practice drills and you do things is to learn the muscle memory and everything else, and learn the technique. And if you're moving on to stuff too quick, you're not finishing the drills, you're distracting the fighters with it, then it is going to actually not help them and be more of a nuisance than it is a help.
I see we got your brother on here with us. Randy.
Yeah, what's going on, guys?
Go ahead and give us your opinion there. We were just getting ready to move on, but since you joined us, go ahead and give us your opinion on that fight.
We were talking about the coaching.
Well, go back to the fight there because we didn't get to hear your comments on that. So, what do you think about the Calderwood Kagan?
I thought Calderwood was going to be a little bit more aggressive, but I'm glad that she came out with the W. I was really expecting more from her. She was kind of delaying the knees. I don't know if she was expecting a shot or expecting, I don't know, the other girl to grab her leg and take her down. Maybe it was a little bit of fear of, getting a takedown. But I'm glad that it went to decision. I kind of called that one. The one judge scored it 19-19, and I didn't really agree with that. I did think Calderwood took it.
Yeah, I had a hard time trying to rationalize how you could score it 19-19.
Yeah, I didn't really understand that, but, it's the judges. It's in their hands, so.
Well, Kagan actually apparently thought that she did better there because at the end of the bout there, she was actually saying that, well, I kind of made a mistake letting it go to the judges, so.
Yeah, the whole fucking north-south deal, that was, I don't know, she just kind of held her. It was like a stalemate. Neither one of them broke, and I don't know. I'll give it to Kagan, though. She's tough. She's a tough chick. I was saying that on the last episode. I watched her fight with Rose. She is a beast, and her sub-defense, me and you discussed that, Rich. She has got some sub-defense out of this world.
Yeah, and also I was saying to your brother that, when they were in a clinch up against the cage there, she kind of put an end to the knees that Joanne Calderwood was actually trying to throw. Joanne was throwing some knees, but they weren't really effective. And Kagan was also throwing a couple of knees, which were less effective, in my opinion. But, you got to give it to her there because,
I think if they would have utilized a better game plan on, Gilbert's side, then they could have taken that fight. Gilbert was kind of pushing the takedowns, and I don't think that's a smart or wise decision when you're going up against, Calderwood, which is a Muay Thai, and she uses these defensive knees to back people off. If anything, I think the game plan should have been more push her up against the cage and get a sweep. Get it like a takedown, a single or a trip, whatever you need to do to get it on the ground, but don't go in for a shot. And that's kind of what he was pushing. So I think an effective game plan could have actually got her the W.
Yeah, and as I asked your brother earlier on before you joined us, what did you think about the performance by both ladies? And
well, both ladies, they went out there and they put it on the table, and I'll give it to them. It was a little bit slow, but I mean, I guess they were kind of fearful of each other.
Yeah, that's the way it came across, and I was a little surprised there because I expected, much like you did, I expected Joanne to come out, a little more aggressively. And, she, like I said to your brother there, early in the first round, she did. She was throwing kicks from all kinds of angles there, but I don't know. It seemed like maybe she got frustrated, and, she kind of like, said, geez, this isn't going the way that I had anticipated.
Yeah, I will give it to Calderwood, though. She was using an effective Muay Thai plum, and, when she did get the plum, she was landing some knees. She busted her up pretty good.
Yeah, she got a cut on her nose, didn't she, Kagan?
Yeah, I believe she did. I think it wasn't on the nose. I think it was just a nose bleed.
Oh, is that what it was?
I believe so. I didn't see an exterior cut.
Yeah, I was I was excited about that fight as the first fight. And, I was telling your brother there, I thought the first fight was much better.
Yeah, it was. I mean, hands down, it was definitely. They went out there and they got after it. I like to see them, the split decisions, to make it go into the third round. It makes for a more interesting fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't really like the 2-round fights that they do on TUF. I mean, they should do 3-round fights. And, we mentioned this on the last show, I believe, where, I would like, I would actually like to see the TUF fights count as professional fights, especially in this scenario here, when these are all professional, women's MMA fighters who have been, either champs or, fought in, other leagues. And it just seems kind of funny that, they don't make them 3 rounds, and maybe not so much, for all the up-and-coming people that are on the TUF shows, but in this scenario here, I mean, they should have been counted as, wins and losses on your professional record.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you on this, on this season of TUF, because they're fighting for a belt. It should be considered professional fights. But, the previous seasons, I don't think that it should be professional fights. I think it should be more like, what do they call that? When it doesn't go, yeah, an exhibition fight.
Well, in a lot of the earlier seasons, too, it's not just that they were just up-and-coming fighters. They had, fighters who were getting second chances. They had the comeback season, and there were a couple other fighters that, came, into TUF that were actually professional fighters that, got a second chance. So,
Yep.
I just think that when you have professional fighters, those TUF shows should actually count as legitimate professional fights and not exhibition matches because, I don't know. Not a big fan of the 2-round, fight format that they use on TUF.
No,
I don't know. They might have to pay them a little more if they do that, and maybe that's one of the reasons why they don't do it.
Well, that could be too. All right. So, any more comments on that one, Brandon? Before we move on.
No, I'm good.
Okay. And your brother and I were talking about the coaching situation when you joined us there. What did you think about that whole thing?
Which part were you guys discussing? The coaching between like Felice Herrig and kind of complaining about what was going on?
Yeah, Jessica Penny and Felice Herrig and a couple other ladies were complaining about too much information from the coaches, too much interrupting. They would give them some advice during drilling, and then they would interrupt them 5 minutes later, and the drills weren't being completed. And basically, as I was telling your brother, what it comes down to is they were basically saying, too many cooks spoil the brew, and maybe they needed, less coaching or less frequent coaching than they were getting because they all seemed to be somewhat frustrated.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think that they should have, slowed the roll down just a little bit. They need to build these girls up, and what it looked like to me is that they were knocking them down. These girls were taking it more personal and taking it to heart like it was an attack on their game and on their skill set. And it's really not there.
Jessica Penny, especially because she was actually a champ over at Invicta FC before Michelle Watterson took the title from her, and you could tell that was her feeling because she came out and expressed it. I can't do anything right. Come on, what is this?
Yeah, I mean, I get where they're coming from, but in the same, I get where Anthony Pettis and his crew are coming from. I mean, they've only got a limited amount of time, and they want to give these girls everything that they possibly can. Anthony Pettis, I mean, just look at him. He's a champ. He's a competitor. He wants to win. That's been proven time and time again. And, I mean, he's just trying to win for his team, but, I mean, it's a little bit too excessive. Maybe just slow it down a little bit, Anthony.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that, too. Damon, any more comments on that segment before I move on to the final thoughts?
Not really. I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, you can't teach people multiple things and expect them to retain it. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the final thoughts here. I got a few things I do want to cover here. On the last TUF show that we did, I mentioned in the final thoughts segment that apparently a lot of MMA fans failed to tune into the premiere of the TUF 20 episode 1 show. And I wasn't quite sure why that was, but the initial airing of the episode 1 show had poor ratings for a TUF show season opener, and those numbers were only 536,000 viewers, which would have made that the worst premiere ratings in the show's history. But the numbers increased dramatically according to Nielsen ratings when Fox re-aired the episode 1 show on both Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports 2 again. And then after re-airing the episode 1 show, the numbers jumped to almost 3 million viewers that watched the debut episode. So, that's some good news there for the women. And as I mentioned a minute ago there, the initial debut that aired on Fox Sports 1 on September 10th did 536,000 viewers live, which made it the lowest debut in the show's history. The show was rebroadcast on the Sunday following the original airing, and it did a whopping 1,735,000 viewers. So I guess a lot of people must have heard about the hype about what was going on in the show there, and they said, oh, geez, what am I missing here, which is a good thing. But apparently, the first episode also had another 295,000 viewers that were watching by DVR through Saturday. And then with the additional airings of the show between Thursday and Sunday on Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports 2, another 267,000 viewers had watched the show. So when you tally all of those numbers up, you're looking at 2,833,000 total viewers. So good to see that MMA fans got on board with watching and supporting the ladies fighting on this season of TUF there. And I actually had the feeling that this would be one of the most watched seasons of TUF, and I was really surprised when I saw those initial numbers. Damon, what do you think about the way that the initial viewing numbers went, and what do you think now that everybody seems to be on board with this, and what do you think spurred that? Do you think it was all the hype around the first show, or what?
I kind of think the initial one is because of the way TUF is it's getting older now, and yeah, this is more exciting. But like I said, the first episode, when you're getting all the biographies and everything else, a lot of people are more interested in the fights. I know myself, I am. Tell me their biographies before their fights. Do it that way. They did get more views later on, but how many of those views are actually from the same people? It's hard to say. To me, the debut should actually be the actual debut, and those are the numbers that actually matter. The people that actually were ready for the initial airing of it. Those are the numbers that really count.
Okay, I want to interrupt you for a minute here. We've got comments happening on the live view there. Do you want to cover those, or should I?
It's just Spike Zeros, and they should go for 3 rounds, but I am not so sure if the fights should be on the records. After all, the fights are in a way different environment as the usual UFC fights. I completely agree.
And Spike, so we've got a big delay in the time before the questions actually appear while we're doing the show there. So just hang in there with us, and we will get to those comments that you are posting there. And go ahead.
And he's also saying most fighters have months to rest and prepare for a fight, but on TUF, it is more a fast-paced tournament style, and I agree with that too. I mean, Pride used to do that where they would, fight so many fights in one night, to crown a champion, and those guys took a beating. It shouldn't really count I don't think that should have counted against a lot of those guys' records, but we all know Pride was fixed. When you're already when you don't have enough time to train in between two fights, and you don't have enough time to properly heal up in between two fights, there's a higher chance of your injuries as opposed to your opponent's injuries being the difference, and I don't think that should count against them.
Okay, I got booted again. I had to close the comment window, so you're going to have to watch that, Damon. I just cannot open the comment window while we're trying to do the show.
Yeah, I had seen him. I was just waiting until after I had finished my initial question that you had asked.
Okay. Did you want to finish it? Did you want to finish that thought, or were you done with that? Brandon can have his thought on that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to agree with Spike, and he's right. These girls, they fight back to back, and I think the 2 rounds kind of do favor them. They give them a little bit more of a break, and if the 3rd round is necessary, then I would like to see the 3rd round.
He wins 3 rounds.
Yeah, he was saying 3 rounds.
Oh, he does win 3?
Yeah, but they shouldn't count as professional bouts.
Okay.
But I agree with that. I mean, all UFC fights are either 3 or 5 rounds. So I agree with the 3 rounds. The 2 rounds, I mean, preparing for 2 rounds is totally different than preparing for 3 rounds. And then if you do have to go to a 3rd round, you really haven't prepared for that. So
see, I didn't look at it that way, Damon, but when you say it that way, I mean, it puts things into perspective. Yeah, these girls do train for 3-round fights. They don't train for 2-round fights. And that completely alters the way that these girls would fight inside the octagon. So, yeah, I could agree with that 100%.
Yeah, okay, you guys won me over. Okay, Spike, that was a good comment, man. Thanks for contributing there. Any more comments on this, guys?
Hit that thumbs up button. Hit that thumbs up button, Spike.
Yeah. Spike, do you have any more comments? We'll try to stretch things out a bit here if you want to make any more comments on that. And while we're waiting for Spike, do you guys have any more comments on that before we move on?
No, not for me.
I think it would actually help if they were all 3-round fights. It would help cut down on a lot of the parts of the show that can get mundane, and that one of the reasons why TUF is losing a lot of its luster is because of the people are getting tired of the house antics and the other the biography type stuff. I mean, most people that watch UFC watch the UFC to watch fights. They want to see the fights and all the background stuff. I mean, for real, if I've got a DVR, when I watch them over at Brandon, sometimes if I've missed a tough season, I just fast forward right to the damn fights.
Yeah, you've expressed that several times. You're not a fan of it, all that action. And I got called a derogatory name that I won't repeat on the show. But in the show where I mentioned that, I actually liked the background. I believe that was the episode 1 recap that we did. I actually enjoy that sort of thing. I like hearing the background of the fighters and everything like that. But I don't know if it was the reason that the guy called me the name that he did. But, yeah, he just wasn't happy. He thought that, well, he didn't express. It was a one-word comment. So, it's hard to tell with a lot of these haters who come on, on websites, MMA sites, and the videos, and, they don't even leave a comment. They just come in and they, downvote you or, just give a one-word negative comment that really doesn't contribute anything to any sort of conversation. Typical low mentality keyboard warrior, But, yeah, I mean, I actually enjoy that. And I don't know, Brandon, were you also a fan of that, or you like your brother?
I do like the biographies. I mean, I like watching the fights more than the biographies, but the biographies give you insight onto the character of these women or these fighters. And, I mean, just like look at Joanne Calderwood. She's a Scottish person, and she comes from a different background. Or, say, what's her name?
Agreed, Spike. And your English was good enough that we knew what you were saying, bud.
No, I was just saying, Randa Marquez, you know, her background, she ran from Iran or Iraq. She escaped from there. And she is a tough broad mentally and physically. I mean, she's proven it in the cage and outside of the cage. Just her dedication to the sport. I like to see that. That gives me more motivation to pick with her on her next upcoming fight.
Yeah, she wasn't intimidated at all.
No, she was not. She was ready to go.
I think they could have done that biography on her and the other fighter. I forget her name right now. They could have done that. Yeah, Tisha Torres. They could have done that for that episode and done the biographies for the other two in the lead up to their fight instead of doing a 2-hour show of you know. But you know, on this whole season of TUF is totally different because they're not fighting to get into the house. They're all pretty much already there. So, I mean, they probably could have done 2 fights. The first episode.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting too. I was actually expecting on a 2-hour show that they would have done 2 fights. And
kind of maybe done a quick introduction of the ladies, not necessarily the long biographies they did do. You know, I do want to get to know the women, you know, but that's what Twitter and stuff like that's for.
Well, not really. I mean, you can't really get to know somebody in 140 characters, especially, you know, when you get to see, because emotion doesn't come out in type. When you get to see the heartfelt emotion that these ladies were expressing with their personal stories, you know.
But the UFC could put their biographies, that type of stuff, on YouTube and put it on their site, and you know, during the fights, if you want to learn more about this fighter, go here, you know, stuff like that.
I'm sorry, man, but I disagree with you. I think that you get a look into
he's a hater when it comes to the backdrop stories.
Yeah,
I would rather see a tournament style TUF than
Right, so then you're saying you would like TUF to actually be more like what the hell was the name of that?
Like a Friday Night Fight.
No, like Fight Masters. Fight Masters took that mentality that you're saying, and that failed within 1 season.
Yeah, but that's not the UFC either.
No, but you know, did you like Fight Masters? Is what I was driving.
I didn't even watch it. I didn't know it was
on. Okay, Brandon, go ahead with your comments.
I was just gonna say, I like to see the insight of the fighters. I mean, you get to know them on a personal level. That to me is something that makes the show.
Yeah, when you have a formula, okay, and again, TUF is what actually saved the UFC from going under. All right, so when you have a formula that is successful and it
was successful.
It's still successful. This is the biggest show to date with those new numbers that I just announced to you. That had the largest viewing to date in the history of TUF. Nearly 3 million
with
viewers.
Replays and everything else. I don't know.
Well, that's a lot of viewers, man. A lot of people tuning in. You know, it's not like a lot of
these. Even if it is a replay, there's still the numbers are there. The numbers speak for themselves.
I don't understand.
Yeah, but the past seasons, they've been losing numbers. This is a totally different format.
Well, let's not go off
too far off topic.
Let's I just want to see one more time. Are there any more comments from Spike?
No. Well, he says the 2 rounds are a bit absurd if you have in mind that the winner becomes the champ and has to defend the title in 5-round bouts.
I completely agree with you, Spike.
I just want to say to Spike, Spike, you're more than welcome to join us on the show. When you look at the description of the video, you'll find a link there to the site where we plan the shows. I know you've commented on a couple of shows that we've done already, so if you'd like to, you know, come on the show and join us and discuss some things, you're more than welcome to join us. So, you know, we enjoy having, you know, all kinds of, you know, guests on the show and having them share their opinion and things like that. So, again, my
friend, from Germany. He's from Germany as well. So.
Yeah, you're welcome to join us, my friend. So. Okay. Any other comments here before we move on to the next topic? I want to cover a couple more things real briefly here. I don't want to go too much in depth on these things.
All right, real quick. Actually, I might have to cut this show a little bit early. I am watching my son, and he's starting to wake up, so I'll let you guys know if he gets up fully.
Okay, no problem. All right, and one more thing here. It seems that Heather Jo Clark is not winning over her teammates there because she's trying to take the role of mother hen and complaining about things. And I don't know, guys. It didn't seem like a lot of the ladies were happy with her. Did you guys catch that?
Yeah, I did. It seemed like a big bitch fest. It was just, oh, I want my blender and blah, 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 and we need to be there for each other. She's stating the obvious, in the van, and she's talking about this blender over and over. Just, calm down a little bit. Enjoy yourself. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. There's no need to bicker about a blender or tell your teammates how to act inside of a van or tell them how to act as a team. Calm down.
She's trying to assert herself in the alpha female role there.
Yeah, she did, and I guess it'll get some ratings because it's creating bickering, but in the same, I'm not here to watch that. I want to watch the biographies and I want to watch the fights.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. And, Damon, did you see the show and did you see those things?
Yeah, I watched it. I really wasn't paying too much attention to that. When it's like kind of cat fighting, I kind of
tune
it out.
All right. Well, then my comment would be, because that transpired and took place, this leads me on to the next topic that I wanted to talk about here. I'm wondering if that, friction between the girls, and it seemed like Rose Namajunas was really not fond of that. I'm wondering if that actually led up to the situation between Rose Namajunas and Heather Jo Clark, where they had a bit of a rough scuffle that led to a black eye for Rose and a cut over the eye for Heather. I don't know. We actually touched on this on the last show there when we were talking about, the preview of, the rough play where Heather Jo Clark got the cut over her eye there. And again, I'm just wondering if that, stemmed out of the bit of resentment that seemed to be, prevailing, with Heather Jo Clark trying to assert herself as the alpha female on the show. What do you guys think?
Most definitely, Rich. Look, she was Rose and Heather Jo Clark. They were the ones getting into it in the van, and then they get to the locker room and they're talking shit to each other. Rose was talking about putting her in an ankle lock or a foot hold or a toe hold, something like that, and Heather Jo Clark said, "Bring it." So they were talking shit to each other in the locker room. Then they get out there on the mats. So yeah, things are going to get a little bit heated, especially if one of them's trying to assert themselves as an alpha.
Yeah, and especially with Heather Jo Clark, because she's always big on talking about other people, specifically Felice Herrig. She has a problem with her talking about Felice, but man, I didn't see anything like that from Felice so far, and to me it seems like Heather Jo Clark is the troublemaker here, and the one that is actually the individual causing all the friction.
Yep. At first, I actually was kind of rooting for her, but now, after watching this last episode, I've lost a lot of respect. And I don't know Heather Jo Clark as a fighter, really. I don't know a whole lot about her, but what I have seen, I'm not very fond of.
Yeah. And did you ever get a chance to go check out some of the stuff about Felice that I was telling you about? Did you follow her on Facebook there?
I got her on Twitter. I set up an account, and I looked into her a little bit, but nothing too major.
Well, check her out on Facebook because she's really, really cool. It's not like the perception that you had of her, and I don't know if that's because there was a lot of hype leading up into the show, not only from Heather Jo Clark, but Ariel Helwani and a couple of the other girls were trying to say that Felice Herrig was a bit of a troublemaker. She was the least liked, and so on and so forth. But we're seeing here that that's not turning out to be the reality of things. Heather Jo Clark seems to be the least likely to win friends and fans.
But see, Felice, I watch Twitter as I'm watching TUF, and there's still catfighting going on between the women on Twitter while the shows are airing, and a lot of people say that Felice is an attention getter, or attention whore, and that's just her personality. she's trying to sell herself, and they're all fighters. They're all hopefully eventually going to be in the UFC. They all need to learn how to self-promote themselves better. If you're jealous of another fighter getting more attention,
that's on you. It's not on that.
yeah,
individual.
it's on you. She's there to sell herself to her fans, to potential new fans. You know, it's part of the mixed martial arts nowadays. You gotta sell. You're a brand. You gotta sell your brand. You gotta make people want to watch your fights.
Yeah, and like I mentioned on the last show where we got into speaking about Heather, Heather and Felice there. Felice actually tries to come across and interact with her fans and promoter sponsors and things like that. Like last night, she did a giveaway, for liking her things on Score. I actually started a Score account just to follow the ladies on TUF and to promote these shows that we're going to be doing, because we're going to do, TUF preview and TUF recap shows for all the shows here if it's possible. So yeah, like I said, how do you fault somebody for trying to interact with their fans? Yeah, maybe she goes, overboard every once in a while with some of the pictures, but as a man, I'm not going to complain about her, posting scantily clad pictures. I kind of like it.
Yeah. I mean, Ariane Celeste does the same thing. It's all about self-promotion,
But
it's
in the
not
same,
like
there can
she's
be too
going
much
out there.
self-promotion.
It depends.
Like last night, man, what the hell was up with the panty party? I don't get that. Let's take our
I want to
panties
touch on
off.
that, but let's wrap this one up first before we move on.
All right.
Any more comments on this before we move on between, the Heather Joe Clark and the scuffling there on the mat?
Not really. They're women. They're not gonna get along.
Yeah.
That's why most women have male friends, is because
Right,
they
so-
don't get along with other women.
Okay, so you think that it was more of the fact that, it was because, it's the bickering that may go on between women, or do you actually think it was actually the resentment, like I was trying to drive at earlier there, from Heather Joe Clark trying to take the role of the alpha female on the show?
I think it's both. I think it's.
I agree.
The women are very competitive, probably more competitive than guys, and you really don't see that unless you see a show like this and you see how competitive they are, and the bickering and everything else is because they are so damn competitive.
And Rose Namajunas, she kept saying on the show how she enjoys hurting people. So, I guess she enjoyed putting that hurting on Heather Joe Clark there. So I don't know if you guys follow her at all, but I follow her as well. And
Yeah, I do.
there's a video of her punching Pat Barry in the face, waking him up. Did you see that?
No, I haven't seen that.
It was
But
funny. She
I
walks in
love-
with a giant, oversized boxing glove on her hand. She goes up to him while he's sleeping, bow, punches him in the face and wakes him up.
Yeah, I love seeing the stuff that Rose and Pat Barry post. They're Pat Barry. I've followed him for a long time on Twitter and Facebook, and that dude always posts some funny ass shit.
Yeah, so closing this topic out here, I'm thinking that it probably had to do with what I just mentioned, Rose actually liking to put a hurting on people, combined with the fact that she didn't appreciate Heather Joe Clark trying to be the alpha male, telling everybody what they should do and how they should act, and teams that they should, form, and alliances and so on and so forth. So that's what I think wound up with that situation there. I don't think that cut is going to be bad enough to hurt Heather Joe Clark fighting, do you?
No. I just like to
Only
say
if
to
it
the
gets
ladies,
open up while she's fighting.
yeah, I would just like to say to the ladies, if you spar that hard, in training camp, you're bound to get hurt. You both are trying to play the alpha role, and you need to not spar with each other if that's going to be the case, because you're going to injure each other over and over and over again. Go train with someone else.
Yeah, I think maybe Rose was just, the one to be bold enough to come out and try to, I think it was teaching her a lesson a bit there. But, maybe we'll see more of that because, again, like I mentioned there, Heather Joe Clark just seems to be rubbing the other girls the wrong way, and even her own teammates. So.
Yeah, but it is all canned, the way the UFC puts the show together. So, I mean, we could be seeing that, and it's just clips that they've put together to make it look like she's doing that.
Like I mentioned on the last show that we did where we spoke about this, we saw the same thing happen on that TUF season where Michael Bisping and Matt Hamill were on the show. And, did they really edit the show and edit the shows to make it look like that, or did it really happen? I mean, these things are really happening, so...
Well, Ronda Rousey has said she'll never do TUF again because of the way they did that. So, yeah, I do believe they do that.
Yeah, but, I mean, the shit happened. I mean, so if the shit happened...
Shit does happen.
Well, like I'm saying, in the Michael Bisping, Matt Hamill instance, Michael Bisping clearly came out and said he wanted to hurt Matt Hamill, and then he went ahead and he did so. And, do you fault the producers? And
no, it's the UFC. I mean, they've got a show they've got to sell, and ratings and everything else.
Well, I think that's an integral part of the show. When you got one individual intentionally trying to hurt another individual on the show, going above and beyond what you're supposed to be doing in training, I think that's integral to telling part of the story of what's happening in the season. What about you, Brandon? You think the same thing?
Oh, man, I'm going to go no comment on this one. I don't even want to touch it. That was seasons ago, and I don't know what the history was between Bisping.
He hated the fact that Tito Ortiz took Matt Hamill under his wing and was giving him preferential treatment. I don't know if that might have been because of the disability that Matt Hamill has, or was it just purely envy for the fact that Hamill was getting more attention than...
Well, I'll say one thing on the subject. If he did announce that he wanted to hurt Matt Hamill, and then he did hurt him, I think that's a dickhead move, and I think the production team should have stepped in and done something about that, because that's the same thing as fighting. I mean, it's assault. That is assault on a person.
Exactly, and he was saying the same thing to the cast members on that season. And what I was trying to drive at here is, is this parallel the same here with this instance with Rose Namajunas and Heather Jo Clark there? I mean, is it the same kind of scenario? Do you think it's actually being played up more like Damon is saying, just purely for ratings? But in my opinion, we saw the shit happen, we saw the comments being made, and then we saw, the result of when those two were rolling together.
I think it was just two females trying to play the alpha role. Rose she seems, like if you even listen to her talk, she kind of sounds like a thug. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. They both are playing the alpha role, and like I said earlier, if you're going to both play the alpha, you're both going to get into it, and you're both going to get hurt. Rose walked away with the black eye, and Heather Jo Clark walked away with a cut on her eye. They both got injured, and in my opinion, it's dumb. Step away from each other. Focus on yourself. Don't focus on drama. Focus on winning the competition. That is why, personally, I am rooting for Randa Marquez to go to the end. I would like to see Randa Marquez and Calderwood in the final.
Yeah, I'm actually. Yeah, I'd like to see some upsets take place here. We were talking about that on the last show, but it didn't happen last night. I don't know, man. With that whole thing that transpired there with the women there, I mean, you hate to see that kind of thing, and I agree with you, Brandon, there. When you're going above and beyond what, the purpose of training is, and you're actually trying to hurt the other fighter, not a good thing for things to unfold like that. And I'm wondering if what we saw transpire there last night on the show is that the impetus that led up to having one of the girls switching teams, and we still don't know who that is yet, do we?
No, we don't know who that is yet. I mean, that could be because of the scuffle, or that could be because of the training. Like, say it's on Pettis' side. It could be that they get fed up with the training because there's 6 coaches on that side. Who knows? I mean, I'm just kind of waiting to see what unfolds. I'm very interested in the season, though. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm digging it so far. I love it so far.
I'm sure the tussle was mutual. So I mean, yeah, I don't think it was one or the other. I think they both don't like each other, and that played out.
Okay, I wonder if we'll see that spill over into other fighters, taking on that same sort of aggression towards her. But we'll find out in upcoming episodes of the show. All right, one more thing that I do want to talk about in the final thoughts segment here. The biggest controversy of the show, and again, this involves Felice Herrig. She got a lot of shit from people that follow her, which again I don't understand why people follow her simply to give her shit. But it happened to be with the Felice Herrig panty party that took place there. Damon, did you watch that? You probably weren't a fan of that either.
No, that part wasn't that bad. I mean, it's a part of the show. Felice is just being Felice, I like Felice Herrig. I've followed her for a long time on Facebook and Twitter. I don't see her doing anything out of the normal. One of the reasons I do watch is because of her and because of Rose, actually, too.
Yeah, I'm actually a bit, I'm in the middle when it comes to most issues there. I'm not really liberal, I'm not really conservative. But I do have to admit, I was a bit shocked when she just had no problem dropping her drawers on camera,
Oh, yeah, I mean,
when she took her panties off without question, I was like, holy shit.
See, I'm not.
She didn't want it censored. She didn't want it censored.
She what?
She didn't want it censored.
Where did you see that?
On Twitter.
Are you shitting me?
Yeah, it's like, I'd have to look for it, but yeah, she said on Twitter that she didn't want that actually censored.
Oh my God! Wow.
I mean, she's selling herself, man. I mean, that's all part of it.
Yeah, I don't know if full frontal is a good idea to try to sell yourself. It certainly isn't going to win.
There's children watching this show, Damon. That's a little bit extreme.
It's actually on at like 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock. I mean, if there are children, if there are parents letting their children watch that, it's on them. I mean,
I don't know. They're watching The Ultimate Fighter. Who expects it to turn into Showtime or Skinamax? You know what I mean?
I mean, if you look at it though, like what you guys are talking about, I mean, it's kind of like Real World and UFC put together. So I mean, if you're gonna let your kid watch something like The Real World, they do tons of shit there.
When it comes right down to it,
the rooms and shit like that. So
Yeah, it's just a difference of.
It's all on the parents. I mean, if you're gonna let your kid watch this, I mean.
Yeah. Hold on, let's let Rich get in here. He was trying to say something.
Yeah, when it all comes down to it, I mean, I was a bit shocked, but I wasn't really offended. I just was, and I really didn't have all that much of a problem with it, But seeing Brandon's point here, I can agree with that. Yeah, if there were kids watching, probably wasn't a good thing to do. But I was I was really shocked. I wasn't, really, all that much an offense of what she did there. But again, when you look at it, I mean, and then she comes out and says that she wouldn't have a problem with it being uncensored. I mean, I don't know if full frontal nudity would actually be a good way to promote yourself there, but I don't know. Maybe I'd have to get a look, and then I change my mind.
I mean,
I don't know. The way I grew up is, I respect ladies and women, and I don't consider her a lady, doing those kind of actions. I think that's.
But it's no different than women burning their bras and shit like that. It's a girl thing, she says, all right, let's put our panties up here for such and such for each fight or whatever. I mean.
So what do you? I mean, like, what's going to happen next season on The Ultimate Fighter? Are we going to see fucking sword fighting between dudes? Like. What the fuck, man? It's too much.
It was a girl thing. I mean, guys have things that they do too. I mean.
Well, here's one of the phrases that I coined, and I'm going to put it like this because this is basically what it would come down to if it wasn't censored. But this is a term that I coined here. I call it the vaginal cleft. Is it really a good idea to have a vaginal cleft as a means to, expose yourself and promote yourself? I don't think that's such a good idea. I mean, I have no problem with that sort of thing, but I don't think it's a good tool to actually promote yourself. And again, there were a lot of adults watching that, and when I was reading Facebook this morning over coffee, I did see a lot of people giving her shit for that, calling her a slut and this and that, and so on and so forth. And,
how is she a slut? I mean, it's not like she's throwing herself on a guy. I mean, doing that. I mean,
well, she was
I'm not saying she is. I'm just
Sergio
saying the
Pettis.
comments that I saw.
Well, yeah, the thing with Sergio Pettis, but she didn't do that with Sergio Pettis in the rim.
No, I'm just saying, man, I don't know. I think a lady should have a little bit more dignity and class. And when I look at her, it kind of disgusts me, honestly. And if you're listening, Felice, I'm sorry, but I think you should be held accountable for your actions. And if kids are watching this show, you just set a horrible, horrible example. Horrible.
So you're a little more conservative than I am, I would guess.
Yeah, I don't agree with you.
I don't know. I believe that a lady should hold herself to higher standards than that. I believe everybody should hold themselves to higher standards than that. What the hell what is this world coming to when you have to drop your panties to get fans?
She didn't do that for fans though.
Bullshit. It's all, dude, she wanted the camera on her. That's all it was. Hey, look at me, guys. I got the camera on me. I'm taking my fucking panties off. It's dumb.
I think it was kind of odd that she put a pair of worn panties
better
up there.
I mean, it's what they put on the show. That's what I'm saying. It's just something they put on the show. I mean,
I think
there are a bunch of females, you know, this holding women to different standards, you know.
I hold men to the same standards.
These are strong women, and you know, and they, you know, I see women everywhere bash on other women, saying, "Oh, you're a horrible role model for women," and stuff like that. And it's, you know what, you know, these women, they're fighters, they're headstrong. They come out and they don't let people put them down. You know, they are the forefront type females of what do you call it? Of the feminist type movement, you know, to where I can do anything a guy can do and I can do it better. You know,
there's
a feminist cause and then there's just ignorance. And
yeah,
what I see
difference between feminism and going overboard. And I, you know, again, when you're looking at what actually transpired here, and I think, Damon, and I'm a fan of Felice Herrig as well, so if she's listening, love you, Felice Herrig. But, you know, in the situation here, when they were talking about putting panties, and the whole thing transpired because I believe it was Pettis put a pair of his underwear up there, and then Felice saw it and she wanted to promote it as well. And then she said to Joanne Calderwood, hey, maybe we should put our panties up there. She started dropping her panties, and then some of the other girls were a bit hesitant. She was trying to get all the girls to do it, and then she said to Joanne Calderwood, are you going to put a pair of panties up there? And in my opinion, Joanne Calderwood did the right thing. She took a pair of panties out of her bag and put them up on, you know, the photo. And then Felice went a little too far and took a pair of panties she was wearing and put them up there. So, you know, two different things there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
you're talking clean drawers versus,
you know, this is UFC. I mean, the punching, it's got violence, it's got everything else. I mean,
and
but people know what you're watching. People know
you can't coddle people. You can't coddle people. I mean,
people know what they're watching when they tune into The Ultimate Fighter. The name states itself. Okay, when you tune into The Ultimate Fighter, you're not expecting to, you know, see some chick dropping trowel right there in front of the camera. I think it's trashy.
It was censored.
It's trashy. It's a trashy thing to do. It is. It's trashy.
I love this. We're three of us on the show, and we're all talking about this situation, and we're all in three different places. That's
I mean,
pretty cool.
It
is cool. It's
one
a
of those,
but it's trash.
It's one of those things. You might think it's trashy, but I mean, Felice. It could have been just Felice trying to get a bonding moment together with the other women. You know.
So do like Rich said and pull out a clean pair of panties. Don't put your dirty stank ass shit up there on the wall. You know?
How do you know those aren't his dirty stank ass shit up on the wall? You know?
Hey, he didn't drop trowel in front of the camera.
No, but that's not the point. I mean, the point is
you're getting a little bit off topic here, David. I mean, you're running circles.
The point is the cameras just happen to show that, and you know it's the way they did it. I mean it. You know,
well, wasn't it after the fight?
It didn't even have to be put on the show.
Was that after the fight, or was that before the fight? I don't recall.
I think it was before. But the thing is, if the UFC didn't want it on there, they wouldn't have fucking put it on there. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't think the UFC
it does.
has much
So
say
to
in
blame
the
it,
production.
to try and blame it all on Felice Herrig and say, "Oh, you're trashy," well, then you have to say, UFC, you're fucking trashy for airing.
I'm not going to
I will say that.
so far as
I
to
will
say
say
it was
that.
trashy,
There's
but I
kids
do think
watching.
it was a little overboard.
I don't think there's.
So I'm right in the middle between the two brothers here.
No, I would say that the UFC, if they condone that kind of behavior, they're just as guilty as she is, and I
It's a
don't condone
bonding
it.
type thing. It was
not
harmless.
bonding.
It was
Bonding
harmless.
is fucking sitting around a campfire singing Kumbaya, not taking your panties off and tying knots together in them.
Well, fucking, women, the
Jesus Christ.
the bra thing. I mean, protesting topless, stuff like that. I mean,
That's got nothing to do with this, buddy. I think you're
what I'm saying
jaded here.
No, what I'm saying is I don't see it as big of an issue as my brother does. I mean, the kids watching thing. Well, if you're letting your kids watch people fucking pummel each other, you've got a problem in the first place.
So no, what do you think about kids MMA then?
Kids
do you think
MMA?
kids should train MMA? Do you think they're not allowed to watch mixed martial arts?
If you're letting them watch it, they should know what it is all about.
Okay, so you just said that it's okay for them to watch it.
It's okay.
Kids are watching the show, Damon.
It's okay for them to watch it.
Kids train.
But
that's trash. That's a horrible, horrible example to set. It's trash. It's garbage. The UFC is just as guilty as Felice Herrig. Get that shit off the air. Bring back the
fight. You have to, if you let your kids watch it, and you don't explain to them what it is, that these are trained guys and women, that it's not something that you should go out and do.
Yeah, even worse.
These are professional.
Even worse, they're trained.
They should, no matter what, the parents shouldn't be letting the little kids watch the shit.
No, man, because you're going against children in mixed martial arts when you say that. Children compete.
If children are learning a martial art,
wrestling tournaments,
totally different.
Muay Thai tournaments, kids compete in all aspects of mixed martial arts.
They're learning martial arts. They're learning discipline. They're being active. They're totally different.
Watching fights also teaches them new techniques.
The kids are not going out and punching each other to oblivion. It's totally different. They're more point fight type thing.
Children watch this show with their parents, and I think that the UFC needs to be held accountable, and they need to raise the bar. They need to raise the standards, because that's bullshit if you ask me. Children watch this.
Then we should, as soon as there's any blood that's shown, they need to start censoring that out.
Come on. Fight.
You're fucking coddling people.
If
you're coddling
people, you know that
coddling people.
No, man. We're talking morals and ethics versus, just fighting.
Morals and ethics. You want to talk morals and ethics? They're fighting for fucking money.
But we're not talking about fighting right now.
Like some people have said, they call it human cockfighting. It's about technique and everything else. But the thing is it is what it is.
Well, let's bring it back to the panty party.
Let's bring it back.
So what do you think? This bitch. Damon, final comment on the panty party. You think it was perfectly fine?
Panty party, the UFC chose to air it. Obviously,
I think you're wrong on that. I don't think the UFC has any say-so in post-production.
I guarantee you the UFC has plenty of say in what goes out.
I truly doubt it.
It is their brand. It is their brand.
I doubt it.
No, I fully believe
I think
the
they
UFC
have very
has
little
total
say-so
control
in post-production. I don't agree with you, and I
know
I
that
don't
the
think you're
UFC
sitting there saying, let's show the most controversial things we can show.
I know the UFC has say in their video games even, and stats and everything else.
Taking it too far. You're trying to say that
the UFC is a brand, and they have control of their brand.
You're not letting me get my comment out.
Go ahead.
What I'm saying is the UFC has probably very little say as to what goes on in post-production. They're not sitting there going, hey, let's take every little controversial thing and put it in the show. That is something that producers do so that the show gets ratings. The UFC isn't involved in the production aspect. I mean, I would love to see, word on that, because I think you're totally, off base on that. They might have a very minimal say-so as to what happened, but they don't have final say-so as to how the show is going to turn out.
I do believe that if there's something on there that they don't want being shown, that it would not be shown. It is the UFC brand. It is.
No, but that's not what we're saying. You're saying they're saying let's show the most controversial things.
They're showing.
And again, in the entertainment world, you cannot be a producer and have say-so unless you actually have producer credentials and are a producer affiliated with SAG, I believe. So again, I seriously doubt that the UFC is hiring a co-producer, to sit there on the show and say, okay, yeah, let's take these most controversial things and show these. I think that's being done purely by the network to make sure they get the ratings.
I mean, it was done on Spike. It was done on FX. I mean, you have
no proof. This is your opinion, though. You're stating this as if it's proof.
Well, I know that Ronda Rousey said she'll never do it again, because of the way she was presented in that show.
Right, so this would go to prove
the UFC. The thing is, the UFC is a brand.
Wait, before you move on, let me address that comment you just made. You're saying that Ronda Rousey, who is the fucking darling of the UFC, did not like the way it came across as the way the show was edited and promoted. Now, do you think, going with what you're saying, that the UFC actually wanted her to come off as the fucking heel that she came off in that season?
Yeah, I think they wanted.
Your whole theory.
I think they wanted to put her in a different light, to make her look a certain way. And
totally disagree.
It is the UFC brand. No matter what, the UFC.
Brandon, what is your comment on that? I totally disagree with that.
The production team, the producer, co-producer, they're probably the ones that run it, but I think the UFC, like Damon was saying, probably does get to view it, and if there's something they want added or something they want removed, they probably can alter that just because it does reflect their brand.
Yeah, but we're talking about editing. We're not talking about saying specifically, oh, I want this most controversial thing in there. I want Felice blurred out where she's almost showing her vagina on TV.
Yeah, more than likely it's production.
Yeah, I don't think the fucking UFC is saying that. If there's something that they object to, yeah, I think maybe they will come in and say, hey, I don't like that, or, maybe we would like to have or highlight this in the show. But I don't think they're sitting there in the post-production room over the producer's shoulder and the editor's shoulders going, oh, yeah, that's good, put that in, oh, take that. No, that's not what's happening, guys. It doesn't work like that in the entertainment industry.
Well, maybe not like that, but what I'm saying is the UFC has final say-so over how they are represented, and if they didn't want that aired, they wouldn't have allowed that to be aired.
Okay, I could buy that argument, but I'm not.
That's pretty much what my whole argument was.
No, your argument was they were saying, picking and choosing what they wanted to be on the show, and I don't think that's it. I mean, I would say, yeah, if there's something on there that they find that they don't want on the show, they would, be more than likely do that rather than say, hey, let's get this shot in and let's get that shot in and let's do, there might be an instance where they say, on this show we would like to highlight X, Y, Z, but I don't think they're sitting there itemizing the things that they want on the show,
I think the UFC probably sits down with the producers and tells them what they want to be shown. Saying, hey, if there's any kind of conflict, any kind of drama, we want you guys to highlight that type of stuff. If there's anybody that's kind of a heel,
right? In a general sense, in a general sense, I can agree with that. But that's you're pretty much stating initially that they were picking and choosing what they wanted on the show specifically.
Nah, I was more trying to say the UFC, what is in charge of how things go, but as the show is made, is not necessarily the way you're talking about it. Is the producers and the people that actually put the show together and you know,
and edit the show.
kind of scripted all together, edited all together. But I do think the UFC has certain things they want showcased or whatever, and
well, I can tell you this from
they don't want in
experience,
there.
because I've been in recording studios and post-production studios. I've been involved in the entertainment world, and I've seen how it works. And most of the people that are involved in the entertainment world are massive fucking egos. These are people who do not like to share the spotlight. They are the shit. They are the ones, and again, because they get residuals and, you know, promotion, you know, they get to promote themselves doing these things. They don't want to share the spotlight, Damon. So I seriously doubt that it's as deep as you think it might be.
You just described the UFC to a T.
Well, yeah, well, I'm saying to you, you don't understand how it works in the entertainment world. It doesn't work like that in the entertainment world. When I was working in the movies and things like that, you couldn't do fucking shit. I mean, unless it was specifically what your job description was, you were not allowed to have any part or say so in anything. And I've even seen directors and cinematographers battling on fucking sets because they didn't like the way that things were going. And then again, in post-production, you know, you think an editor is going to sit there and fucking listen to somebody over their shoulder? Fuck no. That's his job. That's what he does for a living. He's not going to be sitting there in the, you know, post-production room listening to some dude over his shoulder saying, yeah, man, get this in, get that in, cut that out. It doesn't work like that. As a general instance of saying, yeah, we would like this kind of thing, you know, in the show and this kind of thing not in the show, that I can agree with, but not specific instances.
Let's
Maybe
get
not
back to
specific
final
instances,
topics on the panty party.
But the thing is they allowed that to be shown. That it's the UFC brand. The UFC would have had say so. If when they seen in the pre-screening of that show, they would have been able to say, take that out.
Yeah.
Guarantee you, it's their brand that is being promoted. They own the brand. I mean,
I can tell you this, bro. They do not own the rights to TUF. They own the production part of TUF, saying, okay, this is our show. But when all is said and done, just like what happened with Spike TV, Spike had the rights to all of the shows. So, bro, it don't work like you think.
I believe they are producers of the show. I think Zuffa is shown as part of the production team in the show's credits.
It wouldn't work like that.
I would have to look it up.
Not be a producer. It has to be individuals. Editors have to be individuals. That's how it works. It's not an organization that can get credits as that. Trust me, bro. I was in the movie industry for years and the entertainment industry for years. It doesn't work that way. All right, so back to the panty party.
Thoughts. Yeah, final thoughts, panty party.
Okay, I didn't have a problem with it overall. I was a little shocked, like I said. Damon thinks no big deal at all. Brandon's on the other side of the fence saying it was classless and not warranted and should have been cut from the show. I mean, personally, like I said, a little shocked, but I didn't have a big problem with it. Not like, you know, some of the people are calling her a slut and all the things that they're calling her on her Facebook page. So, you know, maybe she should just temper things a little bit when it comes to being on the TUF show as far as, you know, she's shown some, you know, great ass shots and things like that with her short shorts, but I do think that might have been going a little too far for, you know, television. You know, I have no problem if she wants to put shit like that on TUF, but I seriously doubt we're going to be seeing a full frontal view of Felice Herrig on her Twitter or Facebook page.
No, but see, the thing that gets me is she's showing or displaying the characteristics of a sociopath, and I don't think that's good, especially if children are watching. You know, you're teaching them, especially if a kid looks up to her. You know, that's horrible. That's horrible for a child to see that and want to mimic that. What is this fucking world coming to if that's what our children are going to be doing? I know for a fact I'm a father, and if my child, he's a son, I've got a son, but if I had a daughter, and if she started acting that way, I would beat her ass black and blue, because that's not...
I can understand that as a parent there, because I am not a parent, and I know damn well if I had children, I would probably be a hell of a lot more conservative than I am. You know, because like I say, I'm right in the middle. And on this instance here, I think it's the same for Damon. I don't think he has any children either. So it's not as offensive to us. But if I were a parent and I had children and they were sitting there watching that, I probably would have been a little upset, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a mixed martial arts enthusiast.
Is if you look at other shows that are on that around the time that children will be watching, like The Real World or another show like that, or Jersey Shore, same fucking shit happens.
Here's the thing. I'm a father. When my child is old enough to get involved in mixed martial arts and learn self-defense, they will be involved in that. Okay? And they're going to watch the shows with me because it's going to be a part of their life. If they take to it, you know they're going to be active. You know they're going to want to watch the show. We're going to bond over this. And if you see acts like this happening, that's bullshit. In my eyes, as a parent, I do not agree with that, nor do I condone that kind of behavior. That is the characteristics of a sociopath.
And I want to support you on one thing here, Brandon, because I do see your point, and it is a valid point. If you're, watching TUF with your children, and you have no problem with them, taking in the whole martial arts experience and watching women fight and things like that, and all the horseplay that goes on the show, I can understand your point, and I do believe you have a very valid point here. If you're tuning in to watch that sort of thing, again, you're not expecting to see a woman drop her underwear and maybe have to cover the eyes of your kid. And again, I'm saying this from the perspective that you're presenting here, not from myself, because I personally didn't have a problem with it, but I can understand the point that you're driving at, and it is a valid point in my opinion.
Well, thank you, Rich. I appreciate that.
Well, what is the rating for the show? Is it TV mature or what?
No, it's probably TV 14 probably.
It doesn't matter, Damon.
It does matter.
No, it doesn't. Because I'm the
parenting guidelines.
I'm the parent. I choose what my children watch. I choose what my children do.
You choose it, but
I'm not going to let them sit there and watch the Jersey Shore because of these fucking animals. They go out there, they act like hooligans. They're not going to sit down and watch Jersey Shore. No. But mixed martial arts is different. This is discipline. This is supposed to teach them, self-control. And when you watch someone out there without self-control, that's bullshit. You're teaching, especially with Felice Herrig. She is.
I'm sorry. I disagree. I'm sure it's got at least a TV 14 rating.
You're not a parent, so you can't understand where I'm coming from.
And you're a new parent, and
it doesn't matter. I'm a parent. Once you become a parent, your life changes.
Yeah, you become much more conservative. I've seen that over and over again. I mean, you'll see some of the most liberal individuals out there who fucking believe that everything is okay, like most liberals do. Nothing is wrong in the eyes of liberal mentality. But you can see some of the most liberal individuals in the entertainment world. When they have children, they totally fucking change. I mean, look at Dennis Miller. He used to be a flaming liberal. Look at him now, hardcore conservative.
Yeah. One thing is they have ratings and shit like that might happen in there, and
You're comparing The Ultimate Fighter to Jersey Shore, and that has no relevance whatsoever.
It's a real-world fucking type of show, dude.
No,
yeah, but you're missing the whole point of what your brother's saying here, and you should probably concede just a little bit. I hate to say that to you.
No, what I'm saying is it's a real-world type of show.
But you're not listening to his argument. He's presenting a very valid argument, like I tried to clarify for him. His argument.
No, I hear it, but what I'm saying though is
you're not acknowledging. You're not saying it has any sort of credit or value.
He wants to try and make TUF a PG-rated show.
No, I don't think that pulling panties down is appropriate. I'm sorry, I don't agree with it. I don't think that is. Like I said, it displays, the characteristics of a sociopath. This bitch is all about herself, and I can't stand that. You're teaching children that devaluing yourself is okay, and I'm not okay with that. I want my kids to hold themselves to a higher value and a higher standard in life than going around, running around, dropping your panties to get ratings. That's bullshit. That's why they won't watch the Jersey Shore. That's why I won't let them watch the Jersey Shore.
I won't even watch that shit.
No, neither would I. I think it's stupid.
And I think according to the way this little segment went here, I mean, this went on a lot longer than I thought it might here, but I can tell by the way the Panty Party segment went here. Brandon is probably never going to start checking out Felice Herrig because that move last night on the show seems to have soured him totally on her.
It did, and I think if Fred was here, he would be able to agree with me because he has children.
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah, but he probably is not having his children watch it. I mean, it's the TUF is a real world type show.
No, it's a reality show. You're talking two
Yes,
different.
exactly. It's a reality show.
It's a reality
What
show.
you're talking about,
Reality shows are meant to fucking shock you.
Non-disciplined.
no,
And
what
shit like
Brandon is
that.
talking about is a reality show versus, a reality-based show versus.
What we have seen on TUF is fighting, drunken brawls, shit like that. I guess the drunken brawls are okay, but
Well, it's not. It's
the
not on the same
panty
level
things
as being
is
under a naked
No,
is
like
not.
Junie Browning. No, I don't agree with that dude's behavior. I don't. I'm sorry.
But
And if
what I'm
somebody
saying
watches
is
that,
it's
I would
part
tell
of the
him,
show.
you
It's
don't
part
act
of
like
the
a
fucking
fool.
show.
No, Junie Browning wasn't running around with his cock flopping around, taking
No,
his drawers
but-
off, putting it up on the wall.
But
That's-
he was what drunk and fucking. They supply alcohol in the. They supply alcohol in the fucking.
But see, the difference between real world and TUF is that these people are supposed to be trained and disciplined. And then you look at the real world. These are just average Joes, teenagers off the street going out getting fucked up. Okay? You're talking
but-
mixed martial arts compared to a bunch of fuck-ups.
But mixed martial arts is not disciplined martial arts in the traditional sense like it was.
Says who? Says who? Says you?
It says it's the way it's
Anybody
been.
who trains
Most people
Anybody
train
who
MMA
trains
now.
discipline.
Well, I would
Train-
say, according to what Damon is saying and how Brandon is refuting it, I would say that it's not a solid thing yet that mixed martial arts is no longer based in, the martial arts respect and mentality. We're seeing a lot of fighters come up that are no longer embracing that mentality, but I still think with a lot of the older fighters that have been around for a while, and even some of the newer ones.
Lyoto Machida is a disciplined fighter.
Yeah,
He's
they
a
still
respectful
embrace the
fighter.
martial arts mentality.
But most of the guys coming up, they trained mixed martial arts. They did not train.
Yeah, and I would
specific
consider them
discipline.
fighters, not martial artists.
And look where it got them. They don't have a career in the field because they're not disciplined.
Bullshit.
Look, they come and they go. They come and they go. They come and they go. Look at Lyoto Machida. He's been there. Anderson Silva, disciplined.
Cain Velasquez.
He's disciplined. He's fucking disciplined in wrestling, man. Wrestling has discipline.
But it doesn't have the discipline that you're talking about with the respect and everything else.
It does.
Wrestling does not teach you that. Wrestling is not. Most martial arts, traditional martial arts, teach you that you're training to defend yourself or to have to defend somebody else. You're not really training to fight. You're training so you don't have to fight, and you're learning the respect and everything else.
But like you just said, you're learning to not fight. That is considered discipline.
Yeah, but these guys are fighters. I mean, Chris Weidman, he's a wrestler too.
I can tell you this, Damon.
Not martial arts as in the way people think of traditional martial arts.
Well, most of the type of activity that Brandon is describing here, as far as the disrespect and the drunkenness and all that shit, those guys don't find themselves in the UFC anymore. And again,
not the guys on TUF.
Well, I'm saying, the guys that exhibited that sort.
John Jones is fucking light heavyweight champion.
Well, I'm saying the guys.
DWI.
Well, yeah, you're
taking two strippers or whatever.
I know, but you're taking it to an extreme. I'm saying generally, in a general sense, that the guys who embrace that sort of mentality, they typically aren't going to be fighting in the UFC because they don't have the discipline to be able to, keep control of themselves. And yeah, John Jones is still in the UFC, even though he is. I don't consider him a martial arts fighter. I consider him a fighter.
Well, he displayed that, at his last fucking press conference. He's a fighter.
Exactly.
Exactly, and that's how a lot of the guys that are coming up now are. They are fighters. They're not martial
I disagree with you. There's still martial artists out there.
There are some, but they're few and far between.
Are out there to go and throw their hands because they think that's all that they can do.
There's a few that are actual martial artists and respect
It's amazing how this panty party just keeps drifting off into conversation.
It's a heated topic, man. It's a big debate. It's
not a big debate.
It is. I mean, it truly is. If you're bringing children into this, and you're bringing,
but you're the one bringing the children into it.
Because it's a very valid point.
Personally, I wouldn't let my child watch that show.
Okay, if your child was in mixed martial arts, training jiu-jitsu, you wouldn't say, hey, look at what this guy can do, or hey, let's up your game because you can see what a professional does. You wouldn't do that? Not at all?
No.
Well, I can see I'm the man. I can see I'm the man in the middle here. The two brothers want to battle it out back and forth with their solid.
I can tell you that I
Damon, let him finish his topic, man. Let him finish his fucking sentence.
I can see you two guys are at one end of the spectrum and the other here, and I'm the guy in the middle because, you two guys are, I have to admit, Damon, I've been doing the shows with you for a long time now, but I got to admit, Brandon is being a little more reasonable here because what he's saying is valid, and you're not, even flinching a bit on that and saying, yeah, you do have a valid point. If you wouldn't want your kids to watch TUF, then I can understand you saying that you wouldn't want them to watch it. But what, the point that Brandon has made over and again that you refuse to even acknowledge is the fact that TUF is about martial arts, up-and-coming fighters or fighters who are looking to become champions and, sign a contract and make it, as a professional in the UFC. And it's not about all the, silly little other shit that goes on. And in this particular instance, that's part of in this particular instance, we're talking about...
That's part of the fucking show, though. That's what I'm saying.
Let me finish. In this particular instance, it's about, it's all coming down to this one issue. It's about a woman stripping down nude and having to be blurred out on the show. And I can totally understand his point. Am I offended by what he's saying and what Felice did? No, I'm not. But I can understand what he's saying, and it's definitely a valid point. And
no, I understand what he's saying, but in the same sense, that alone is no different than letting your kids watch guys get fucking completely plastered, drunk, and fighting.
Okay, so you're making the equation that the two are the same no matter what, and there's no difference ever.
It's bad behavior. It's bad behavior both ways.
It is. Bad behavior is not
condoned. So if you're going to let your kids watch it, and you're saying that you want your kid to watch it to see how they train and see how they do all this and everything else, TUF is not the show for you to watch with your kid.
Now, I think that's where you're wrong.
Go ahead.
I think with the drinking aspect that you're bringing up, you can see when these guys are getting wasted and when they're starting to become belligerent, and you can tell your kids to turn your head. But Felice Herrig, she wasn't fucked up. She wasn't drunk, and she's still dropping trial, man. She's a sociopath. Get the story.
Boy, we're going to get some hate on this fucking show here because both Damon and I love Felice, and it looks like... It looks like Brandon.
I mean, it's one of those things. It's a reality type television show. If you're letting your little kids watch it, that's on you.
Yeah, and I was going to mention this too before Brandon started making his last comment. A lot of adults actually tune out of the show because of all that drunken bullshit and antics and things like that. So I don't know how many other adults are going to tune out of the show, because Felice, stripped down. Unless they're worried about, like Brandon is saying, Felice stripping down with their children watching it, they have to cover their eyes and go, "Oh my God,"
I think the male demographic will watch it more.
It's just the behavior aspect of it. I just don't condone that.
Okay, I got a comment.
But you do condone drunken brawls and stuff like that.
I did not, Damon. When did I ever say that? I said I don't condone that.
Yeah, he said he didn't.
But that's tough. That is tough, though. It's
not through the whole. You'll get these drunken assholes every once in a while, and I am also not a fan of the guys coming into the houses and tearing the fucking houses apart. I mean, what kind of fucking anarchist mentality is that to impart to children that something like that is okay?
Yeah,
I mean,
if you destroy shit, no, you don't teach kids that. You teach kids values, morals, ethics. Yeah. You don't teach them to fuck shit up because they're pissed off.
Yeah.
That's why you don't let your children watch this show.
No. That's why
I got a question here that's a little more softer than the vaginal cleft issue that went on here. All right, what about the ass shots that we've seen from Felice? Brandon, are those offensive to you? Would that be something you wouldn't want your children to see? She's wearing shorts. She's not really revealing much more than
No,
you would
that's
see in a
completely
bikini.
fine because women wear bikinis on a day-to-day basis. It's when you start taking the bikini bottoms off and hanging them up on a wall. I just do not condone that. I don't.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I
I
don't.
just wanted to see. I just wanted to see where you drew the line there, because you seem to be a little more conservative than I am. Damon seems to be a little more liberal than I am, and I think I'm like right in the middle. And I see some of the points that both of you guys are making here. So kind of funny how two brothers can be so far apart on opposite ends of the spectrum here.
Oh, man, you wouldn't believe how much me and this dude butt heads.
Yeah. It's a parenting morality thing over a reality show's morality aspect. I mean, it is a real world type show, and if you're letting your kids watch it, and you're gonna have to expect shit like that, just like you with the other TUFs, where I think Tony Ferguson got totally drunk one night and got in a fight with another guy and everything else. And if you're exposing your kids to that, then I don't see how this other aspect is so much more. Oh my God,
Well, they do say that Americans are more
craving
prudish than any other country, so they're saying that Americans probably should be less prudish. But again, the nation, and I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with this because we got so many of these new free-thinking individuals out there who don't agree with this, but the country was based on Judeo-Christian principles, and most of the laws that we have were based on that, and for many, many years, those were the morals and fundamentals that people in America lived their lives around,
Yeah, but like France, Britain, places like that, nudity on television is no big deal.
Yeah, I know.
But we don't live there.
No,
it's completely different.
But we're raised up a big deal. It's going to be a big deal.
Different fundamentals, man. I mean, I think that it's just a completely different realm over there. They're born around that. They're accepting of complete nudity, and they're accepting of their bodies, as to where if you come to America, you get arrested for that kind of behavior.
Yeah, and we are the model country of the world, right?
I don't want my child getting a rap sheet because they're trying to mimic what they see on TV, and I'm sorry, I don't.
Then you got to monitor what they watch on TV. That's the whole point of ratings.
That's the thing, though, is
this is ratings for television shows.
Mixed martial arts. It's mixed martial arts. That's the name of the game.
It's not, though. It's a reality show with mixed martial arts in it.
You're right, it is, but in the same, these guys have discipline. They're supposed to be disciplined fighters. I mean, if you're coming into the UFC, this is a professional sport, Damon. You have to be disciplined to be a professional athlete.
All they care about is ratings for the show, dude.
I do have to admit this. Now that we're talking about the nudity and shit like that, on the last season of TUF, there were a couple of dudes that stripped down and got naked. Remember? And they had to be blurred out as well. So this isn't the first time it happened. I just think because it's a woman, guys are getting...
Exactly. It's a double standard.
No, it's not.
Double standard.
No, man, because if there was a dude doing that, I don't want my son to see that. I don't want him to act like that. That's barbaric. That's
why I'm saying you don't let him watch this show. That's my whole point. If you don't want him to see it, you don't let him watch this show. This is a reality show with mixed martial arts in it.
I think it's a bad reflection of the sport. I think that they should hold these guys more accountable, but they're not, because it gets them ratings. And it's sad to say,
exactly.
You're right, Damon. I'm probably not going to be able to watch this show with my children, and that's sad. That's sad.
Well, okay. Wrapping this segment up here. Damon thinks it's perfectly okay. I thought it was a little, overboard, and Brandon thought that it was downright wrong and trashy to do something like that. So, you got your three opinions there, people. I'd appreciate if some of you listeners would give us your comments, below the video there, so we could see what some of you all think about this. As I mentioned there on Facebook, Felice Herrig is taking some shit today for what was showed on the show there in regard to her dropping her panties like that. So I would find it interesting to see how some people really feel about this, and man, we're probably going to get all kinds of dislikes and maybe a few likes on this one here. But
real quick, let me say one more thing before I go. Like you guys brought up last season in TUF, and there's a couple dudes stripping down, taking, just doing whatever, being drunk idiots. That was a one-time deal. Felice Herrig, she's all over social media taking all these fucking selfies and half naked, and then she's on the show doing the exact same fucking thing.
Brittany Palmer and Ariane Celeste both posed in Playboy. I mean,
yeah, I mean, when you see those girls coming out in those UFC, girls coming out in those UFC uniforms, you're looking at almost some camel toe action on those uniforms.
Exactly.
Yeah, but see, like you had asked me before, Rich, is it okay to see the bikini bottoms? Yeah, that's fine, because if you go to a beach or if you go to a pool, that's what you're going to see. But when you start displaying acts of lewd behavior,
though,
which is
not?
what it
was
is.
Censored though, was it not?
Doesn't matter. It's lewd behavior.
It does. It was censored.
The wrong thing. You're sending the wrong message to the new youth of this world, and I'm sorry, I disagree. I strongly disagree.
Dude, the real world shit like that, those kind of shows, they've been doing it for fucking years.
But I'm not going to let my child watch that dumb shit.
I think that's the difference. I think that's the difference between the two.
You wouldn't let your child watch this show because
I think that's the difference between the two formats, Damon. You keep trying to say this is a real world type show. It's not. It's a reality show, and the real world type show goes above and beyond this, where they are expecting to do shit like that. They are expecting the nudity. They are expecting the lewd acts. They are expecting the outrageous
stuff like that. That's why they put alcohol in the house. It is the drama is part of the show, part of the thing that's on the show.
I'm just saying the dichotomy between those two shows is totally different. Yeah, it's a reality show, but the real world show is totally different because
it is totally different. Yes, but what I'm saying is this show, the reality show, has that aspect to it with the drunkenness and everything else.
I'm sure they're not expecting nudity on the show, Damon.
Well, they allowed it to go on air.
On more than one occasion, this happened.
I mean, if they didn't want that shown, obviously they could have in the what do you call it? When they watched
any more comments from Spike?
No, there were no more.
Where'd you go, Spike? You missed out on the conversation, man.
What's that?
I said, where'd you go, Spike? You missed out on the conversation.
Yeah, I would have been interested to see his opinions on this because being from Germany, I know they're a lot more liberal over there as far as the human form and the naked human body goes. So it would have been interesting to see what he said. He probably would say, "This is nothing." Didn't see anything, and even if he did see something, it probably would have been great to look at.
Right.
Yeah, but in the same, I don't know, like that's lewd behavior in America, and you can get arrested, get charged.
But showing your kids where a guy is going around killing people is fine.
What the hell are you talking about?
What? Same TV ratings. Violence in America on television is okay. Nudity, oh my fucking god.
It's not violence, Damon. I mean, it's violent sport, but
I'm not talking about MMA. I'm talking about the types of movies there are and everything else, and all the violence and everything. And
that's a movie. We're comparing fiction to nonfiction now. Apples to fucking tomatoes.
Cops is a reality show. I mean,
don't get me started on Cops.
The thing is Brandon this is a show that is meant for ratings as well as to showcase fighters. It is not meant for children. That is why it has like a TV-14 rating. It is not meant for little kids.
I'm so glad you joined us on today's show, Brandon. This turned out to be exciting.
Yeah, it was a fun show, man. It's a damn good show. Hopefully we get some ratings out of this and get some views.
No.
Yeah, we got a little hate on the last show that we did. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier or not, but for supporting Felice Herrig, it seemed like her haters kind of downvoted the video on the last show that we did, and then they went back and went to the first show and downvoted that a couple of times. So I just want to say, fuck you haters.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it, if you don't like somebody and somebody else likes somebody, I mean, of course people are going to dislike something that you might like. You know, it's funny that we don't get those, just like when we're talking about John Jones. You know,
I just think we need to look at a bigger picture. We're condoning people who act like fucking sociopaths. I mean, they are.
No, we're not condoning them. We're talking about.
No, not us personally, but the show. The show is condoning that kind of lewd behavior and condoning, going out there, take selfies of yourself, be the next Kim Kardashian, but pull your pussy out. Dude, it's completely. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of it.
I'm sure there were a lot of people that would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah. I mean, a bunch of the male fan base, yes. I mean, I'm a father, so I look at it completely different now. You would have asked me this a year ago, I'd be completely open to this. I'd say, yeah, bring it on. We need more female contestants. Bring that shit on. But
I think,
as a father,
I think it's making a mountain out of a molehill.
No, I don't. It
is. That's why they have the whole TV rating set up. If your child is 14 and he hasn't seen a pussy already, then you have that kid locked in a fucking closet. Guaranteed.
Wow, I guess I must have grown up really sheltered because I never saw a pussy when I was 14.
Not in a magazine or anything?
No. Oh wait, yeah, I did. No. Back then, Playboy didn't show pussy.
Well, you're old, so I mean, we live in these days, not the fucking 40s.
Yeah, I know. When I look at Playboy today, and I see the pictures that are in Playboy, I go, "Whoa, that used to be penthouse material,"
Exactly. But the thing is I mean, if you are going to subject your children to it, that's on you.
I was raised as a Catholic, so I was really sheltered,
Mm-hmm. That's what they have TV ratings for, and if you can't handle that kind of thing, don't let your kid fucking watch it. It's on you as a parent to worry about that type of stuff. They're already telling you at the beginning of the show. They're telling you at the beginning of the show that this show is intended for kids 14 and older. So if you're having your 5-year-old kid watch it with you and you're exposing it to them, that's all on you.
It's not, man, I don't know. I see mixed martial arts differently than you do, and I see the sport completely different. I see children competing in the sport,
mixed martial arts, dude. It's not martial arts in the sense that you're thinking.
But it is. They take the values and they change it. I don't know. Damon, let's agree to disagree. I'm done with this topic. I have to take care of my boy now.
A lot of the fighters do not learn the discipline. They learn the moves.
I agree to disagree.
Nah. TVMA 14, whatever. I don't know.
That long. Any other comments that you guys want to make here before we say goodbye? Anything you want to talk about? Or?
Don't bring up people taking panties off anymore.
That makes for good conversation, man. It makes for good conversation.
It does and it doesn't. I mean, we're arguing over what you think is appropriate for a kid when it's already displayed at the beginning of the show that it's intended for kids 14 and older. It's up to you as a parent to say it's okay for them to watch it when they're already telling you that this really is not intended for a younger child.
Because of the violence that's involved, because of the fighting.
It's not just the violence.
No, it is. Look at the FCCA. It's a violent contact sport, Damon. You can go to a UFC event. A UFC event is going to be like Fox Sports 1. Look at the rating on Fox Sports 1 for a UFC, event.
It's like
what is it going to be?
14.
TV-14. And it's mixed martial arts. Kids are training this in a gym at 5 years old, 3 years old, however
and that's
young
parents letting them do it. It's
because they want them to learn self-defense sooner than later, and I don't see a problem with that.
Well, I know I'm going to do this. I'm going to look at the beginning of the show next time when the rating pops up, and I'm going to read exactly what that rating covers because I believe more
And I guarantee you it's going to have an
I believe it's
AC for
more
adult
based on
content.
violence than it is about nudity or anything like
I
that.
think it's going to more than likely have AC, which means adult content, which means there's going to be alcohol drinking, everything else. I mean, it's.
Well, no, nudity is a separate rating when they do those.
Spike saying Fleece does the kinky sonin. Some love her, some hate her. But what matters, everyone knows her now. I saw the whole thing. Man, it got heated. Laugh out loud.
Oh, ask him if over there in Germany was it censored?
Nah, I think it was censored in Germany, wasn't it?
I've seen some people say that the things that are censored in America go uncensored over there. They're not blurred out over there.
Yeah, but I believe they still get the same channel, and it's broadcast off of the American networks, and what we censor is still censored over there.
I don't know, because I've seen some people say that what's censored in America, the same shows. I can't remember the instance because it was just the other day that I
maybe
saw,
the same movies and stuff. I don't know.
well, it was just the other day that I saw somebody making a comment about one of the shows where something was censored, and yet over in Europe it wasn't. So
It could have been shown on a different
Network.
affiliate of Fox that doesn't have to censor it like they do here in America.
yeah.
We censor all kinds of shit in America, yet we're doing it for the good of the country. Yet we are probably the most violent country in the world. So
I wouldn't say that. Look at the fucking Middle East, the beheading fucking people left and right.
yeah, but
You
the
don't see people get
instances
beheaded in America.
Hey man, now look,
No,
you
they just
got to look at it on a bigger scale. Like, we are the most violent country. We are the only country that has ever used a nuclear weapon. That's mass destruction of lives, and we are the most violent country in the world, hands down. A beheading does not compare to, a fucking A-bomb.
I don't know. To me, that's way more fucking barbaric. That's a first millennial mentality, and if you haven't grown out of a first millennial mentality, you're not just fucking wrong. There's something sick with that. There's something wrong with your mental process if you have no problem taking a knife, holding somebody's hair, and cutting your fucking head off when they're alive.
But did you hear about?
Well, that's
That
how
is
far
violence.
back. That's how far back
hold on.
they are. That's how far back they are, and they're.
Here's the thing about that. If you actually look up the first beheading of the first American that had his head cut off, that's actually been proven, and the media came out and said that man was killed off camera. That video is fake as shit. Okay, they were sawing at his neck. I haven't seen the video. I don't want to watch someone get their fucking head cut off, but there's actually, the media came back and said he was killed off camera because when they were sawing at his neck, no blood came out. People rose up and were like, "What the fuck?" It's kind of
refuse to
No,
watch that.
I don't care, but I know.
Same here. I don't want to
I
watch
see
it.
what Rich is saying. I mean, they did
it's
kill the guy.
barbaric.
They do
So
cut
is
people's heads
mass
off.
extinction of lives.
That is how
Loss of
far
life is
behind
bullshit.
the Muslim extremists are in the world.
Yeah, war and violence are two different things. I mean, just because you're fucking a massive superpower that has the power to do the things that America does, doesn't mean that you're necessarily violent. Violence is just something that's inbred within people, and like over in the Middle East, you see it all over. They beat fucking women. They chop people's fucking heads off when they're alive. I mean, that's fucking sick shit.
Well, yeah, of course.
It is. I mean, you have the extremists everywhere. We have extremists here in America, too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's anywhere you go. Anywhere.
No, we're completely off in America.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We went way off. All right,
It's a 2-hour show, so.
Is it really a 2-hour show? Holy shit. This is supposed to be a quick 30-minute show.
I had fun, though, guys. I can tell you that much. I had a damn good time today.
Yeah, I did too. Well, like I said, people would love to hear some of your comments and the thoughts below there. We covered so many different things here. We'll probably get a lot of hate on this one like we did on the last one that we did. But
Who gives a shit?
like I say, fuck the haters. If you're going to hate, at least make a comment,
Exactly.
Yep.
Explain your hate.
I'm going to have a ton of fucking hate mail.
Don't be scared, homie.
Scared, homie.
And if you want to come on the show and debate with us, we'd love to have you on the show. I mean, don't just hate and run, leave
that is the internet, though.
If you want to come on and debate with us and share your viewpoint, we're more than happy to have you. All right, guys, I guess that's it. I guess we've reached the end of the show. That was very interesting. We covered way more than we expected that we were going to cover.
Yeah.
Final thought segment that was only supposed to go for about 10 minutes went on forever, but it was interesting. It was fun.
Nah, you have a great one. You have a good one, bro.
Yeah, you too. All right, guys, I had fun, man. We got to do this more often. It makes for good
man.
conversation.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well, fellas. Have a great day, man. I'll talk to you next time.
All right, take it easy.
Take it easy.
All right, bye-bye.